We wait for the Stormvogel in a small hotel outside Fethiye. Our boat finally arrives with a short delay and we again move on board. Many sailing friends strongly advised us to stay as long as possible in Turkey, as this is the best place for sailor in the entire Mediterranean. We took this tip by heart, and at the end of May we very slowly started our route to the west with a distant destination of Gibraltar. With our former travel experience at the back of our minds, we quickly judged so-called fabulous coves, sheltered anchor places and romantic villages. Turkey really does offer everything, with very friendly locals to boot. They give us the feeling of being welcome at all times. We ask ourselves whether we shouldn't just leave the Stormvogel here and simply fly home at the end of the season. In many short day trips we make our way along the Turkish coast towards the west. We explore every town by foot, rent scooters when we can, and take day trips into the hinterland. We are completely surprised by the many historic towns to visit in Turkey. We anchor in the historic harbour of Knidos, and after a few days we literally get a sense of that long ago time of 500 BC. We later take one whole day to stroll through the even older Ephesus, located further to the north, and can hardly believe the size of this ancient city. Aided by Austria, the buried city has been continuously dug out since 1895 and is now very accessible to visitors. After more than 2 months, counting the motorhome tour, we leave this wonderful holiday destination with its unique nature, many sights and hospitable locals. Going over the border to Greece, we are once again traveling in the EU. Amazing how unspectacular this occasion is. Our plan is to visit a few islands in the Aegean Sea, to station ourselves in Athens, to cross the Corinth Canal and once again leave the country at Corfu. We have the whole of July to do this and are really looking forward to it. July, the height of summer and the time of lots of winds in the Aegean Sea. The so-called strong wind Meltemi comes from the north and ensures constant good weather. Well, that's the positive part. What's negative is that it always blows strongly, and we often have to search for shelter in protected anchor coves when it gets too much. Rather coincidentally, we land on the small island group Forni, located between Samos and Ikaria. Forni is only just 45 square kilometers and sparsely populated with 1,500 inhabitants. Of the over 3,000 islands in Greece, only 87 are inhabited, and they are widely distributed. The ferry traffic between the islands plays an important role in day-to-day life and reveals to us the very individual infrastructure problems that Greece has to conquer. In the Mediterranean, you can't just anchor anywhere in a bay, as we had been used to from our previous journey. The seabed close to the coast is generally very steep and rocky. We therefore use additional stern lines and moor them to the land. This then holds the boat in position and the anchor is always uphill, so to say. This anchor maneuver is complicated and not always successful at first go. It takes time until we get used to it. The weather is good to us and we can sail into the small harbour of Margaritas on Ikaria. At the beginning we have some difficulty identifying the entrance from the maze of cliffs, and the crew expresses concern about the size of the harbour basin. It's unbearably hot, and to cool off, the islanders simply sit in the glass-clear and pleasantly cool harbour waters with a hat on their heads. We actually only want to stay a short time on the next island of Mykonos, but the Meltemi is blowing so strongly that it's impossible to imagine a comfortable onward journey. We quickly develop a sort of love-hate relationship with this island, On the one hand, the so-called marina for sailing yachts is one of the most dangerous we've ever experienced due to the foul anchorage ground, and the local Greeks do not think too highly of Germans due to the Greek crisis. On the other hand, Mykonos is really beautiful, and we roam the island often with a scooter or walk through the town. In spite of the circumstances, we make the best of it and have fun. As soon as the wind abates, we sail on to Athens and naturally admire the Acropolis high above the city. We have to deal with fog and heavy shipping traffic for the first time for ages on the way to the Corinth Canal. The Corinth Canal was built at the end of the 19th century in 12 years. The privatized canal charges a hefty transit fee of the yachts and, when asked, justifies this by the long detour that would otherwise be necessary. The 6-kilometer-long one-way system is over far too quickly, as we have to pass through the canal at high speed. Other boats are already waiting on the other side, and they also want a passage through the canal. For some reason, we've had enough of Greece and now want to quickly travel westwards. We reverently pass by the modern Rio-Ontario Bridge, as this bridge is a technical masterpiece of the modern ages. The Peloponnesus Peninsula is permanently moving and known for its earthquakes. The 27-kilometer-long bridge has been built in such a way that every pillar is able to move up to 2 meters per year. We reach Corfu via the Ionian Sea and a few stopovers. We leave Greece here and enter Italy. We really don't like our first stopovers in Maria di Lucia, Cassoni and Trocella Ionica in Italy. This could be the places themselves, or it could be us. As opposed to the long stretches in the Pacific, we no longer really get into the countries, but simply pass through them. Every day, a new place, new impressions. This type of travel overwhelms us, but we don't really recognize that then. It's only in Giardini Naxos in Sicily that we find a bit of peace and internalize the fact that we are in Italy. It's mid-August and the Italians are on summer holidays. Life thus takes place on the beaches and we get a sense of the advantages of La Dolce Vita. We are fascinated by the villages and towns built in and on the hills. The public transport is good and we can get everywhere quickly with buses and trains. We travel the street of Messina in calm weather and visit picturesque Scilia and the islands of Capri and Ischia. The region is actually interesting enough for an entire summer season. We travel the coast section in 2 weeks and find it increasingly difficult to escape the expensive harbors and marinas in Italy. It's a little crazy to go sailing in the main season in Italy. Still, we do find out that Capri and Ischia certainly live up to their reputation as beautiful islands. We finally reach Rome and moor very cheaply at the mouth of a river 30 kilometers away from the city. Directly opposite the Colosseum, we drink the most expensive coffee of our entire trip and join the endless queue of the Colosseum visitors. The structure itself is very impressive and, in the skipper's opinion, has not deserved the carelessly executed structural improvements. With so many visitors daily, would there not be enough money to have this massive structure restored true to its original style? Rome's obligatory program includes the famous St. Peter's Square. Yes, it's very nice here, but extremely grandiose. We figured out a while back the grandest buildings of the world are always, or at least almost always, houses of God. We leave Italy after 4 weeks, bound to Corsica. Of course, we know that the south of France in summer is not the cheapest holiday destination, but because we happen to be here, we want to explore the coast with a boat and visit our long-standing favorite town, Siti, under our own power. Just thinking about Siti arouses a certain feeling of nostalgia. After all, we used to camp there almost every year over Easter when we were young. Bastia on Corsica is our first port of call in France. Corsica received us and treated us just as you would imagine from well-known preconceptions. aloof, unfriendly, and sometimes even hostile. This is really very annoying, as the island is actually very beautiful with natural wilderness. Would the inhabitants really be happier without tourists? On the overnight trip to Nice, the mood on board the Stormvogel sinks to -10 on a scale of 1 to 10. The skipper and crew now only explore the city close-mouthed. Cannes then follows with the Stormvogel, and then Monte Carlo with a hire car. Only after leaving the cities and visiting the spectacular Verdun Gorge does the mood improve somewhat. We miss the long stretches at sea, the routine on board, and the slow-building enjoyment of a new country. In the Saint-Tropez harbour, we are expected to pay €17 for a beer, for one glass of beer, not for a whole crate. A tip for the following tourists: explore the places as long as it's still possible to visit them without any entry fee, but take enough supplies, well, beer for example, in your backpack. We reached Tahiti after a short stopover close to Marseille. The city with its many canals and the large fishing port immediately draws us in. We take an extensive canal tour with a dinghy on the very first evening. Luckily, as it rains non-stop the following days and turns cold as well. It is now the start of October, and naturally they also do have a sort of winter here too. On the last leg of the journey for this year, we want to visit Mallorca, Ibiza and Cartagena, in addition to Barcelona. We have already booked winter storage for the Stormvogel in Aqua Dulce. But the weather is not longer playing its part, and the journey to Barcelona becomes a trial. Cold and wet, a weak sailing wind, and a sly, unpleasant swell pushing us towards the coast. Not nice here. Spurred on by the surprising cold, we install a new heater in Barcelona. This takes a few days, which at least gives us plenty of time to explore this wonderful city. The landscapes of Mallorca, and then Ibiza shortly afterwards, are a very pleasant surprise. The season is over, and a kind of peace and tranquility has now developed. We explore both islands, but then set off without delay to go further south. We buy new winter jackets in Calpe and watch gigantic cruise ships perform their harbour maneuvers through the drizzle in Cartagena. As we finally round the southeast tip of the Spanish Mediterranean coast at Coba da Gata, the weather is once again warm and pleasant. Who would have thought that, just a few hundred kilometers south of Barcelona? The landscape has changed noticeably. The coast is no longer green, but more stony and dry. We reach Aqua Dulce on the Costa de Almeria on October 29, 2015 and prepare the Stormvogel for a long winter hibernation. We only plan to start sailing again from March 2016 because we want to enter point in Hamburg with the Stormvogel in mid-summer.